welcome back. Today we're going to learn how to factor trinomials. Remember, a trinomial has three terms. This should all be reviewed. And what we're factoring is quadratics. So that means highest exponent is a 2. So x squared plus 4x plus 3. This is a trinomial and it's a quadratic. Things to remember that I might mention is that this form is called ax squared plus bx plus c, where a and b and c are numbers, right? A and b are coefficients, and c is just a number, just a constant. So in this case, our a is 1, our b is 4, and our c is 3. So let's go on. We're going to with the steps. So step 1 when you're factoring is look for a GCF. So you're going to look for a GCF of the 3 numbers. If we go back here and we look, this would be, our 3 numbers would be 1, 4, and 3. So there is no GCF. The GCF is 1, and you don't have to worry about that. It's only important when there's numbers in all 3 spots. So step 1, look for a GCF. And then step 2 is set up an X. And on the top of the X, you're going to do A times C. And on the bottom of the X is going to be B. Let me go to an example here and finish this one. So our problem is x squared plus 4x plus 3. Our step 1 is to find the GCF. This one does not have a GCF because this is a 1. Step 2, we're going to put in this x, and we're going to take a times c is 3, positive, and then we're going to put 4 here. So we need to look for two numbers. Looking for 2 numbers that multiply to this and add to 4. So this is the hardest part of factoring, but you're looking for 2 numbers that multiply to this top, a times c, and then add to 4. So a times c and then b. So here's multiply, and here you're adding. So the best way to do that is to take this number here and find all the factors of 3. And this was an easy one. There's only one factor of 3, 1, and 3. So 1 times 3 is 3. But we need these factors to add to 4, and 1 plus 3 is also 4. So these are our 2 factors we're going to do, 1 and 3. So that's step 2, and that is the hardest step, but when we do harder problems, we're going to write this out, and I can walk you through it. So that's step 2. Step 3, you're going to put it in a box. Just like we were multiplying binomials, you're going to put the terms you found into this box. So going back to our problem here, I'm going to erase this, so make sure you've written it down. So we know that our two terms we found are 1 and 3. So we're going to do this box. In this top left corner, we always put this, x squared. In the bottom corner, we put the constant, which is 3. And then this is where our terms come in that we found. We're going to put 1x here, which is just x, right? 1. And then 3x here. Because 1 and 3 are the numbers we found in the last step. Great, that's step 3. And now, so step 4 would be to find the GCF of the terms in the box. So for this one, we find these, the GCF of these terms going up and down, going this way, which would be x squared and 3x would be x. And then we go this way, x and 3, the GCF is only 1, positive. And now we find the GCF going this way. X squared and x, the GCF is x. And the GCF of 3x and 3 is just 3. And you can review the GCF video I have if you don't know how to find the GCF of these terms. All we're doing is finding the GCF of x squared plus 3x right here. Right, x squared and positive 3x is just x, and we put it here. So we take this top binomial, x plus 1, and we multiply it times this side binomial, x plus 3. And this would be our final answer, factored. This would be this problem factored. So that's it. For questions for step 5, write down the binomials. And you're done. And for you guys, step 6 is going to be check. Alright, so let's do this one. Alright, step 1, find the GCF. This is the A is 1, so we don't need to worry about it. Step 2, we're going to write our x. We're going to multiply A, which is 1, times C, which is 8. And that gives us 8. And this term is 6x. So we need to find terms that multiply to 8, but that add to 6. So we can find all of our factors of 8. We have 1 and 8, and 2 and 4. So which one of these multiply to 8? They all do. But that add to 6. 1 plus 8 is 9, but 2 plus 4 is 6. So our terms we're going to use are these. So I'm going to put 4x and 2x. I decided to put in the x to make it a little less confusing. Hopefully it is. So I found the terms. I'm going to write it in the box. Remember that this first term always goes here in the upper left, and this last term, the constant, always goes here. And then you're going to put the 4x and a 2x in any one of these boxes. It does not matter. I'm going to put the 4x here and a 2x here. And now we're going to find a GCF of going this way. X squared and 2x is x. The GCF of 4x and 8 is 4. The GCF of x squared and 4x, again, is x. And the GCF of 2x and 8 is just 2. Again, you really need to know how to find a GCF in that last lesson in order to pull these out. So these are our two terms, our two binomials, I mean. You have x plus 4 and x plus 2. Right? They're these and these. Everything's positive. And now when I say check, what I want you to do is go down here and do the multiplication to make sure you get the same thing. I know it's a little redundant, especially if you use the box method, but I still want you to do it for the practice. But if you did the box method and you did x and 4 and x and 2 and you multiplied, (2x and 8), and you should get the same thing. And then we combine our like terms on this diagonal, and we'd have x squared plus 6x plus 8. This would be our answer. And we go up here and it is the same, so we know we did it right. I want all of this work when you turn it into me if you're in my class. I want all of that. All right, let's do another one. Gets a little harder now, but the same thing. You're going to find the GCF, step 1, 6, 1, and negative 2. Because I have this 1, I know that there's not going to be a GCF. So step 2, do the x. I'm going to multiply a, which is 6, times c, which is negative 2. So that's going to be negative 12. And then I have 1x down here, so 1 down here. So I need two numbers that multiply to negative 12, but that add the positive 1. So we're going to find all of our factors of 12. We're not going to worry about the negative yet, but all of our factors of 12. We have 1 times 12, 2 times 6, and 3 times 4. So we know that one of these is negative because it's negative 12, but they add to 1. So right away we should understand that it's got to be 3 and 4. And since this is positive, our bigger number has to be positive. So it has to be a negative 3 and a positive 4. 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. 4 plus negative 3 is positive 1. So these are the numbers that we're going to use. Negative 3 and 4. So negative 3x and 4x. I'll make this an x too. So again, this is the hardest part, but if you write them out and then check, you'll be able to get it. But we should be able to do this since you're at home and you have all the time in the world. So now, I gotta write the box. This has to go here, always, and this has to go here, always. And now I'm going to put 4x and negative 3x. So when I factor this out, going this way, of 6x squared and negative 3x, it's going to be a positive 3x. And when I factor this way, 4 and negative 2, it's going to be a positive 2. Now this is 6x squared and 4x, it's going to be 2x. And but going this way, since this is negative, this sign goes with it, right? This is positive, so this is positive. This is positive, so this is positive. But since this is negative, we have to factor out that negative. So negative 3x minus 2, the GCF would just be negative 1. So I have my two binomials here and here. So 3x plus 2 and 2x minus 1. And again, I'm going to check it. This one needs to be checked because it's harder. So I'm going to do the box. I'm going to do 3x plus 2 here and 2x minus 1 here. And I multiply 6x squared, 4x, negative 3x, and negative 2. I remember I'm going to combine like terms going this way. So I have 6x squared plus x minus 2. So if we scroll up here, do we get 6x squared plus x minus 2? And that is our original problem. So I know I solved it correctly. All right, let's do another one. So now, because they're all numbers, and 5, 7, and 6 don't have a GCF, but let's pretend like I didn't know that. And how are you going to check it? The easiest way is going to be using Desmos. So to check it in Desmos, you're going to hit this keypad button, and then you're going to hit Functions key up here, up in upper right. It's right here. I move my head. Hopefully you can see the Functions button. Then Miscellaneous, and you're going to go to GCD. And then you're going to type in whatever you're trying to find a GCD of. In this case, it's 5, 7, and 6. So 5, 7, and 6. And I don't care about the negative signs when I'm finding a GCF. And it's 1. As I thought, there's no GCF. So we did step 1. We checked for a GCF. Step 2, we draw our x. And we multiply a times c. And we get negative 30. And then this one's here. So now we're looking for numbers, two numbers that multiply to negative 30 and add to negative 7. So let's find our factors of 30. 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, 5 and 6. So we need, these are numbers that multiply to 30, negative, and we need to find which ones add to negative 7. So we know because this number is negative, our bigger number has to be negative. So we could check them all. 1 plus negative 30 is negative 29. 3 plus negative 10 is negative 7. So that's what we want. So this has to be our number with this as negative. So 3 times negative 10 is negative 30. 3 plus negative 10 is negative 7. So I put 3x and negative 10x. And then I do my box. Again, this term always goes in the upper left. This term always goes in the bottom right. And then our numbers that we found go here, and it doesn't matter. I could have put negative 10x here. And I'm going to factor this way. It's going to be 5x. Again, this is positive, so that's positive. We're going to factor this way. It's going to be 3 because this is positive, so this is positive. I factor this way. I just get x. I factor this way. Since this is negative, this has to be negative 2. So these are my two binomials, 5x plus 3 and x minus 2. And I'm going to check it because I want you guys to check it. So I'm going to put it in here, 5x and 3 and x minus 2. Multiply 5x squared, 3x, negative 10x, and negative 6. And then combine like terms. So there's nothing to combine with the 5x squared. Negative 10x plus 3x is negative 7x, and then minus 6. And I'm going to take what I have here and check it with the original problem, and it's the same. So I know that this is correctly factored. Again, I want to see all of this if you do it for me. All right, one last one. So 8, 20, and 72. Step 1 is to check for a GCF. So I'm going to check this for a GCF because I suspect it has a GCF. So again, 8, 20, and 72. So I go to Desmos. I type in 8, 20, and 72. So my GCF is 4. So that means that I can take out a 4 of everything, out of all of these terms. I can divide 4 out of all these terms. So this 8x squared divided by 4 would be 2x squared. Negative 20x divided by 4 is negative 5x. Negative 72 divided by 4, 18. So once we found that GCF, now this is the term, this is the trinomial that we want to factor. We pull this out so we don't have to worry about the 4. That'll be part of our answer. But for these next steps, we're just dealing with this trinomial. So I'm going to draw the x. I'm going to multiply 2 times negative 18 is negative 36. And then I have negative 5. So this one's harder because this number is bigger. But I'm going to find all my factors of 36. 1 times 36, 2 times 18, 3 times 12, 4 times 9, 6 times 6. So I need two numbers to multiply to negative 36 and add to negative 5. Again, since it's adding to negative 5, I know the bigger number has to be negative. So this would be negative, if I added these, wouldn't give me -5. This wouldn't, this might. So the bigger number has to be negative. So 4 plus -9 is -5. So these are the numbers that I want. 4x and -9x. So draw my box. This term goes here always. This last term goes here always. And the two terms I found go here. 4x and -9x. So I factor this way, I just have x. Well, I find the GCF this way and I just have x. I find the GCF this way and I just have 2. And the GCF going this way, I have 2x. I find the GCF going this way. Since this is negative on the outside, I have to pull out the -9. And then I have my two terms. So I would have x plus 2 and 2x minus 9. This wouldn't be my complete answer because remember we found a GCF, we found that 4. So that 4 actually has to go here. Now that's my complete answer. This would be my final answer. But I want you to check it. So we need to multiply, right? All this is multiply, and we're going to multiply these two inside numbers first. It doesn't matter, right? I can multiply the 4 to this first, but the associative property of multiplication says that I can multiply this first or this first. It doesn't matter because it's multiplication. But in our purposes, I'm going to do these middle terms first. So x and 2 and 2x and -9, and I'm going to multiply a little quickly, but you get the idea. I'm going to combine this way. Still have the 4 out. 2x squared minus 5x minus 18. And now I need to multiply the 4 to everything inside. I have 8x squared minus 20x minus 72. And I'm going to check this with the very original problem, and it's the same, so I know I did it right. Alright, that's it. I want to see this page of work on each one of the problems that I give you guys, and that's it.